You know, in the world of aviation, there's one rivalry that's just bigger than all the rest. It's the American legend, the Boeing 737 MAX, going head-to-head with the European challenger, the Airbus A320Neo. And these aren't just any planes. They are the absolute workhorses of the sky, flying millions of us to our destinations every single day. So picture this. You're standing at the gate, looking out the window at the plane you're about to board. Can you tell if it's a Boeing or an Airbus? And more importantly, why should you even care? Well, this isn't just trivia for plane nerds. The answer actually reveals a huge difference in philosophy that affects everyone, from the pilot in the cockpit all the way to you in seat 23B. Let's dive in.
All right, we're going to start our journey from the inside out, and that means we're heading straight for the cockpit, because this is where the real difference between these two jets lies. It's not just technical, it's philosophical. It's about the very soul of the machine. And this right here perfectly frames the whole debate. The best way to think about it is like this. The Boeing 737 MAX, it's like a manual sports car. It's all about that direct connection, that raw feel. The Airbus A320Neo, on the other hand, is more like a high-tech electric car, totally managed by some seriously sophisticated software. You've got the pilot's plane, and then you've got the computer's plane.
And you can see that philosophy play out right here in the controls. See, the Boeing has that traditional yoke, that big steering wheel. When a pilot pulls back on it, they can literally feel the aerodynamic forces on the wings. They are physically connected to the act of flying. But in the Airbus, you've got a side stick, kind of like a joystick on a video game. The pilot's input isn't a direct command. It's more like a suggestion to a computer, and that computer then flies the plane within a heavily protected safety bubble. It's a huge shift from flying the plane to managing the automation.
This quote just nails it. Boeing's philosophy is that the pilot always has the ultimate say. They're in command. Airbus, however, uses the computer as a co-pilot, a safety net that is constantly checking and assessing what the human pilot is doing. They're just two completely different ways of thinking about how to safely get from A to B.
Okay, so let's step out of the cockpit and head into the boardroom. Because for an airline, this choice isn't about the feel of flying or some grand philosophy. Nope, it's a cold, hard calculation. It is all about the money.
And this is the number that really gets their attention. 15 to 20%. That's the massive improvement in fuel efficiency that both the MAX and the Neo offer over the older planes they're replacing. In an industry where profit margins are razor thin, a saving like that is an absolute game changer.
And to put that into perspective, just look at this chart. An airline's fuel bill can be up to, 40% of its entire operating cost? That's huge. So that 15 to 20% drop we just saw, that translates to millions upon millions of dollars in savings for every single plane, every single year. You can see why they are desperate to get these new jets.
Now you might look at the sticker price and think, okay, case closed. But here's a little industry secret. Almost nobody pays list price. When airlines buy these planes in bulk, they get insane discounts. We're talking 40, 50, even 60% off. The real price they pay is one of the most closely guarded secrets in the business.
So, if it's not just the price, what else drives the decision? Well, a few things. First, there's fleet commonality. If you're an airline like Southwest that has only ever flown Boeings, switching to Airbus means you have to retrain all your pilots and mechanics. That's incredibly expensive. Second, your business model matters. A super low-cost airline like Ryanair wants to pack in as many people as possible, so they go for a special high-density version of the MAX because it gives them the absolute lowest cost per seat. And finally, there's range. The MAX can fly about 150 miles farther, and sometimes that little bit of extra range is what makes a brand new, profitable route possible.
Okay, we've heard from the pilots, we've heard from the accountants. Now it's your turn. I'm about to turn you into an expert plane spotter, so the next time you're at the gate, you'll be able to tell these two jets apart in seconds.
The first and most obvious clue is right at the very front of the plane. All you have to do is look at the nose and the cockpit windows. Okay, look closely. The Boeing 737 MAX has a sharper, more pointed nose. See how the cockpit windows make a distinct V shape? Now look at the Airbus A320Neo. The nose is much rounder, more bulbous, and the windows are straighter across, almost like a cool pair of sunglasses. I'm telling you, once you see this difference, you will never be able to unsee it. Got the nose down? Perfect. Now let's swing around to the complete opposite end of the aircraft and check out the tail.
All right, this one's a little more subtle, but it's just as reliable. On the Boeing 737 MAX, look at where the big vertical tail fin meets the body of the plane. See that gentle, forward-sweeping curve right at the front? Now look at the Airbus. That connection is a much sharper, more angular line. There's no curve at all, just a clean, abrupt angle.
And for our third and final clue, let's look at the things that make these planes so darned efficient in the first place. Those big, new engines.
Honestly, this might be the easiest giveaway of them all. Look at the back of the engines on the Boeing 737 MAX. You see those jagged, zigzag edges? They're called chevrons, and they actually help make the engine quieter. Now look at the Airbus A320Neo engines. They're just perfectly smooth and round at the back. So, if you see chevrons, it's a Boeing. If you see a smooth circle, it's an Airbus. It's as simple as that.
We've been in the cockpit, we've visited the boardroom, we've stood on the tarmac. But now, let's finally get on board and talk about what all this means for the most important person in this entire equation, you, the passenger.
7 inches. I know, it really doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But let me tell you, in the world of aircraft cabin design, 7 inches is pure, unadulterated luxury. And it is the single biggest comfort difference between these two airplanes.
So where do these magical 7 inches come from? Well, the fuselage, the main body of the Airbus A320neo, is fundamentally wider than the 737 MAX. That extra width means airlines can put in slightly wider seats. It means the dreaded middle seat is just a little less of a shoulder-to-shoulder combat zone, and it also means the aisle is wider, so you're less likely to get your elbow bumped by the beverage cart. And there's another huge benefit you'll notice, or rather, one you won't hear. Thanks to those brand new engines, both of these planes are way, way quieter than the old ones. The A320neo can be up to 50% quieter than its predecessor, and the 737 MAX boasts similar noise reductions. It just makes the whole journey a lot more peaceful.
So, after looking at this rivalry from every possible angle, who comes out on top? Who actually wins? Well, the truth is, it really depends on who you ask.
Let's just break it down one last time. For pilots, it's a choice of philosophy. Do you prefer the Airbus's advanced automation or the Boeing's direct hands-on control? For the airlines, it's strategic. The Airbus family offers great flexibility, while the Boeing MAX offers maximum passenger density and a little more range. And for you, the passenger, well, the Airbus gives you more physical space, but Boeing's very clever sky interior lighting can often create the feeling of a more spacious cabin.
So in the end, it really comes down to this. Are you flying on a plane designed for the pilot's feel, a plane optimized for the airline's bottom line, or a plane built with the passenger's comfort in mind? Each one has its champion. So the next time you're at the gate and you spot that pointed nose or those telltale chevrons, you'll know exactly what choices were made long before you ever stepped on board. The only real question left is, which one would you choose?